Speaking of sports, I'm Howard Carstell. Round 1 last Saturday, Elko Speedway. Front row follies. Steve Anderson on the outside and Adam Royal on the inside. Out of 4, they touch, and into the wall goes Royal. Into the wall goes Royal. A quick salute, and we move ahead to round 2 in the pits after the race. 3 members of Royal's crew converge on Anderson, most certainly to discuss the musings of the famous French philosopher René Descartes, who once reasoned, I race, therefore I wreck. And out of nowhere comes a 5'8", 162-pound stalwart from the Anderson stable, who single-handedly drives them back. Off the slab they go. Not since the thriller in Manila have I seen such undefiled machismo, such unbridled hubris in a frivolous fracas such as this. Can't we all just get along? Speaking of sports, I'm Howard Carstell.
The Race Show with Rob Hahn is presented by Yamaha ATVs. The Race Show is also sponsored by Arby's, Elko Speedway, Housley Motorsports, Cedar Lake Speedway, and Raceway Park. Now, a man so vain he probably thinks the song is about him, here's Rob Hahn.
All right, welcome to another episode of The Race Show presented by Yamaha ATVs. I'm Rob Hahn, publisher of Minnesota's Racing Connection. And wow, do we have a show in store for you today. Among other things, we'll hear from Stan Meissner, who's with Brian Nelson, our videographer at Cedar Lake Speedway, and they'll file not just 1, but 2 reports in anticipation of the second night tonight of the USA Nationals at Cedar Lake. And speaking of Cedar Lake, Matt Kenseth and Dave Blaney make a return visit there this coming Wednesday. We'll talk specifically about Matt Kenseth later in the show. Steve Anderson, the number 50 late model driver at Elko Speedway, will stop by later in the program to talk about last Saturday's action at Elko. You won't want to miss that. But first, we start with a feature that we started last week. Our feature, our Eye on Skaja, where we profile Elko sportsman Mike Skaja as he chases his first sportsman title at Elko Speedway. Never one to be too, what shall we say, boring. He is always very colorful on and off the track. And he did not disappoint last week. He was involved in an early race wreck in the feature with Mike Felixberger, was sent to the rear of the field, and then eventually salvaged a third-place finish. So without further ado, let's put our eye on Skaja.
I don't know how many laps it was into the race, but you got bonehead Felixberger over there. Apparently didn't want to be on the outside. He wanted where I think it was the 8 car. He wanted that spot. Beating it out of him all the way down the straightaways, finally turns him. I got two options. Drive right through him, wreck a bunch of stuff, or hit the brakes, loop around. Apparently the tower wants to see me drive right through him for some apparent reason, because you can't avoid a wreck around here without getting in trouble. I mean, so I got sent to the second to the back. And luckily we got up front like that, but I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know how they can't see anything like that. I mean,
I know not only you, but one of your crew members is pretty frustrated as well.
Well, he should be. I told him to go right over to Felixberger's crew chief and tell him just to back off, because I'm gonna have a little words with him later on tonight over a beer or two. Yeah, I tried to talk to the guy. I tried to help him out, because a guy with the nickname of Asphalt Assassin, how smart do you think that guy can be? Jesus, Martha. I mean, he's got a name to wreck people out there, and that's exactly what he does. He doesn't try to work on the car. He just wants to wreck people.
We turn now to our other colorful weekly feature as we look at Paul Payne, the man I sometimes refer to, affectionately of course, as St. Paul Payne. He's getting ready for his next ASA race, which will be Labor Day at Elko Speedway, and as he gets ready, we continue to track what he does on a daily basis in this segment, which we call A Day in the Life of St. Paul Payne.
Today I thought about asking Peggy Johnson to become vice president of the Paul Payne fan club. Rob Hahn is already the president.
One of the best points races locally, as we've noted before on the race show, is in the hobby stock division at Raceway Park. And Mark Marshall is in the thick of things.
We were hoping to be in the top 3 at mid-season, and we're there. So we try not to expect too much. We hope for a lot.
Are you thinking about the points much on a weekly basis, or is it just kind of business as usual?
I'm probably thinking about the points more than I want to admit I am. It's hard not to.
So having said that, does that mean when you're in the midst of a race, be it a heat or feature, you're thinking about it at all?
Not during a race, but pretty much when I'm not in the car, I've been thinking about it a lot, especially in this last week.
Are there any one or two drivers in the hobby stock division that you're really kind of focusing on that you think are in a good spot to challenge you for the title?
I wish there was just one or two. Right now there's 5 probably. Mike Hellendrung, Chris Cooley, Brian Turtle, and Jeff Williams, and then us. I think right now from 1st to 5th, I think it could be any one of us on any week in the lead.
What's been the best part of the season so far?
I got a really good crew, and besides the racing and how we've done in the racing, we got a good bunch of guys. We have fun, hang out here together, and work on the car together, and it's a really good time.
What do you like most about the hobby stock class?
That's a good question. I got tired of bombers because I got tired of feeling like I was going around in a circle in a demo derby every week. And so I like the hobbies. They're fast. It's pretty clean racing. Not too terribly expensive.
Do you have plans at some point or aspirations to move up to a different class?
Hopes. Giving a Raceway late model a strong consideration.
Now what about, if I could bring this discussion back to me just for a second, because the show is all about me, remember? Yeah. These striped shirts, do you like them? A lot of people give me flack for them.
You know, there's one reason, and one main reason I'm going to take your side. And that's because Goldman gives you such a hard time about them.
Well, that's reason enough, don't you think?
Definitely.
The race show is brought to you by Raceway Park and Yamaha. Down and Dirty is sponsored by Cedar Lake Speedway.
Remember the good old days of rock and roll radio when some stations would have what they called 2 for Tuesdays, and they would play 2 in a row from your favorite artist or maybe least favorite artist all day long? Well, we have our own version of a 2 for here with 2 in a row from Stan Meissner and videographer Brian Nelson.
We're talking with Justin Fegers, driver of the F-15 Wissota late model. Justin, you're having a pretty good season. Tell us a little about how things are going.
It started out good. We finished last year pretty strong, and we came out running strong this year. We kind of lost our way for a few weeks there, but we picked her back up recently and had some pretty strong runs.
Now, you recently had a win. You had a good finish in the Masters race. Tell us about how that went for you.
You know, we looked forward to that race at the start of the year. We had a circle on our calendar, and we brought our top game, and everything fell into place that we came out second. Hopefully in a couple weeks here we come out a little better.
There was one thing about that race that you probably really liked. It happened on lap 80. What was that?
The Wheel of Fortune came right down to it, and we came out on top. Well, almost.
And it was a little tough passing there, so you were able to hold on?
Yeah, the track was kind of locked down, single grooved, and it was nice to start up front.
And I see a lot of Justin Fegers t-shirts. What's behind that phenomenon?
I don't know. I guess we came out with a pretty good design, and the fans like us. I think they see that we're a family operation, and we're out there trying our best to get up there, and they appreciate it, I think.
Now, the F-15, that reminds me maybe of a jet fighter or something, and they call you the Jet. Where did that come from?
You know, they had a survey on the internet last year. People thought I needed a nickname, and the Jet came on top, and I guess it just kind of stuck, and figured I'd give them a change for the number, and we put an F on front just to match it.
Now, how did you progress into the Wissota late models?
I started out in the super stock about 5 years ago after my dad stopped driving late model, became my crew chief, and that was about it.
You're looking forward to a good run in the USA Nationals?
Oh, definitely. We've got a lot of confidence going to that race, and we've got a week of practice running with the bigger names leading up to that, so we're looking for a good showing.
We're talking to Brady Smith, driver of the number 2 Wissota late model. Brady, tell us a little bit about where you race out of.
Well, we race out of Solon Springs, Wisconsin, which is a couple hours north of here. We race in Superior on Friday nights, and we come down here to Cedar Lake on Saturday nights.
Okay, and so there are Saturday night tracks that are closer to home. Why do you choose Cedar Lake?
We like to come down here for the competition more than anything, but we do really like the racetrack here. The people are real nice, and more than anything, though, it's the best competition around.
And any other series that you're running, say, during the weeknight?
During the week, we just basically, if there's a big special or something like that, we'll hit that, but we run the Amsoil series, and then basically just do the Friday-Saturday deal.
Now, you're going to run the extreme dirt cars here. We saw that you sat on the pole last year at the Masters. Was that a surprise to you, or didn't it surprise you much?
It was a surprise, being that it was our first ever open competition race that we ever entered. And so it was a surprise that we were able to set fast time and then win the pole. But now that we proved it to ourselves, we're pretty excited about coming back and trying to do it again.
How would you rate those guys as drivers?
Well, those guys are the best in the business. They're here. They are here for business, and they mean business. But you know, they're not intimidating or anything like that for me to race against. But they are professionals.
Well, I want to thank you, Brady, and hope that you have a good remainder of the season then.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot.
Down and Dirty has been presented by Cedar Lake Speedway, featuring the best dirt racing in the upper Midwest, Saturday night.
Race fans, you haven't seen racing unless you've been to Cedar Lake Speedway. Racing every Saturday night. Legendary Cedar Lake Speedway, featuring some of the finest dirt track drivers in the upper Midwest. Fans witnessing fields of over 150 racers competing on a regular basis. There's only one. The legendary Cedar Lake Speedway. Regular race night race tickets just $10 for adults, $5 for children. Check us out online, cedarlakespeedway.com, or call toll-free 866-4CLS-FUN. 15 minutes east of Stillwater.
The usual suspect of the week is sponsored by Arby's.
We're back in the race shack, and I'm joined by the number 50 late model driver at Elko Speedway, Steve Anderson. I think it's fair to say it was kind of a rough Saturday night.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars spinning around and causing wrecks out there, and
we're talking
I think
about,
we were involved in about every yellow. So
yeah, we're talking about the feature at Elko Speedway. The hardest wreck that you were involved in occurred early in the race and involved Adam Royal. Why don't you, from your standpoint, explain what took place?
Well, we started on the front row. I think we both wanted to win bad, and I think we were both racing real hard. And you know, I on the outside and on the way around the first lap on the back stretch, Adam kind of got up into me, and then coming out of down the front stretch, he got up into me, and we just tangled, and all heck broke loose from there.
And then if we could fast forward a little bit to after the feature race, you were greeted by some of Royal's crew members. I was looking for Vince McMahon from the WWF to show up. I thought this was a time to get ready to rumble or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What exactly happened down the pit?
Well, as I was driving in, one of their guys came by and kicked my car as I was driving in, and then, I don't know, I got up to my slab, and all of a sudden there was, 10 people up there and not letting me out of my car and so on, and my crew just kind of pushed them back and told them to get off our slab, and eventually cooler heads prevailed, and nothing serious happened, which was good.
I think the Jets and the Sharks from the West Side Story would have been jealous of this rumble.
Yeah, it looked a little rough at first. And, everybody around there, Jeff's crew and Katie's crew, they helped out and separated everybody out. So,
how do you respond? I mean, it's no secret that you have your critics in the pits and some in the fans, among the fans as well. They don't like your style of driving. They say you're involved in more than your share of wrecks. How do you respond to these critics?
Well, I don't know. It's like I don't think they criticize me much when I'm running slow, but if my car's working better, then they criticize me a little more. And there's some guys out there I can run with for, me and Adam. Not too many features ago, we're side by side on the front row for 15, 20 laps and never touched, and I was on the inside that time. But some guys, it just doesn't work out that way. I think people take more liberties with me than they maybe do with some other drivers, and that sometimes causes wrecks. I get run into more than maybe I should when I'm on the outside, and people just kind of come up and let their car slide up into me and push me out of the way, because they want to get going, and they don't think that I'm fast enough to keep up or something. I don't know.
Is that pretty frustrating?
I guess if they're talking about you good or bad, that's good.
As long as we spell your name right?
Yeah.
S-O-N.
There you go.
Now, we'd be remiss if we didn't give you a little trophy for your adventures at Elko.
I'm going to need a free lunch this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a free lunch, but since you appeared on the race show, there is. Oven McMahon is very proud to have you in his stable now. So you'll get the traveling trophy for 1 week, and we hope that things turn for the better the rest of the season.
Well, we hope so too, thanks.
All right, here's your certificate. Now go get that free lunch. Steve Anderson, late model number 50 at Elko Speedway, joining us, and we will be right back.
The usual suspect of the week has been brought to you by Arby's. What are you eating today?
Back in the race shack for Points to Ponder, I'm Rob Hahn, joined as usual by Peggy Johnson and Kerry Estes. Let's start, or restart, by talking about restarts. Where should we start on this?
At the beginning?
At the beginning. A very good place to start, right?
Sure.
For our Sound of Music fans. First things first. Let's talk about, once again, double wide versus single file restarts. Raceway Park does the double wide restarts. I'm completely in favor of it until about after the third or fourth caution. Then I think they should go to single file restarts. We saw a case a couple weeks ago where it just went on too long.
Double file restarts I'm not in favor of. I'm just not in favor of it. I don't think that the drivers can handle them for some reason. In the case that you're stating at Raceway Park, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was 3 or 4 restarts within 2 laps, and it was just enough. It was way too much.
I mean,
single file restarts are my vote.
But why is it, and we've talked about this before, that the lower classes can go and have a double wide restart and not seem to have the problems that the late models have? And the late models are supposed to be the best drivers at the tracks.
You know, I haven't really seen a problem with having a double file restart, but I just think a single file restart would be way better, because then everybody's at the same place. You can either go to the outside of the guy you're behind or the inside after the first lap, and it just starts everybody out kind of on more of an equal playing ground.
Okay, well,
I do like double wide.
Because I like the strategy involved. You know, I like the fact that if a guy's car is handling well on the outside, that he can move up 6, 7 spots because a bunch of people in front of him choose to take the lower side. Now, I have, you know, taken a step back and said, you know, after the third or fourth caution, let's go to single file restarts. But I would love to see Elko Speedway bring back the double wide restarts. But speaking of restarts, there were some differing opinions about how Jason Schneider was doing some of the restarts during the Elko feature last Saturday. I think it's up to the guy in front to set the tone, one way or the other, slow, fast, or otherwise, and everyone needs to follow.
Definitely. You gotta stay with the guy who's on pole. You have to stay at his speed. If you're slacking off, you're gonna lose out, because you just have to stay on his bumper. That's the one thing I know my brothers told me. Get up there, stay on that guy. Don't lose him, you know. If you do, that's your own fault. And this guy takes off, and good for him.
And for the lap cars, if you're a lap car, I mean, we can't blame the drivers, but the lap cars should go to the rear of the field on these single file restarts regardless.
Right. I think, yeah, in the case with Jason Schneider's restart, I don't know if there's a way that they're supposed to actually restart, if there's a rule that says you need to do this. But it is true, the leader is the one who sets the pace. Mm-hmm. And however they set the pace, that's how they set the pace. Unfortunately, sometimes it seems like there's a train wreck behind the leader.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of checking up, a lot of speeding up.
Exactly. So, and then in regards to the lap traffic, I think that they should go to the back. It's not this, like I said to you, this is not Cup. You're not going to be able to make your lap back. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason why they should be there.
Point number 2, Matt Kinseth. Winston Cup points leader. He comes to Cedar Lake Speedway with Dave Blaney this coming Wednesday. Matt Kinseth, is he good for the sport or not, and would you like to see him win a Winston Cup title? I'd kind of like to see him win because he's from Wisconsin. It'd be nice to see a guy from the upper Midwest win, but I'm not sure he's the best spokesperson for racing right now. Are you laughing at this mosquito that just landed on me like a big 747?
It's going between us. We need to start that over.
No, keep rolling. It is the, you know, this is the race shack, right? This isn't Fox Studios or something like that. Kinseth.
Right. Matt Kinseth? I like Matt the Brat. I know you think he's boring, but you know, I remember watching him when he raced, I think it was Elko or something like that up at Fox Center, and I think it's really cool that he still comes back to his roots. So for him to win a championship, actually for him to be the points leader, I think is a huge deal. I think it's awesome.
And a great opportunity for the fans locally to get to go out to a track like Cedar Lake and see the points leader.
Definitely, that's really cool too. And I say go Matt, because I mean he is from around here, and you know, you always like to root for the guy that you know or that you have some kind of connection to. So if he can do it, I say that's cool.
Yes, I think he would be very good on David Letterman if he wins the Cup.
He is kind of boring when he talks. He is. But you know, NASCAR is so like cookie cutter. Structured that, yeah. So who cares if he's boring, though?
What about Ward Burton? He talks funny, too?
And he's coming to the Twin Cities, too, for a little dinner.
But Ward Burton talks funny because I think he has something wrong with his tongue.
Oh, really?
I think that's what I've heard. I don't know if it's a rumor or not. Let's not use that.
You think it's because there's something wrong with his tongue.
Somebody told me he
So
had
his
something wrong with his
He's
tongue.
missing his lingual
Interesting.
frenulum.
Don't put this
Is he
in the
missing his
show.
what?
Lingual frenulum.
Okay, you got to talk down to our level here.
Sorry, I'm going to be
Wow,
embarrassed here.
Wow.
you just did something amazing.
What?
Right, Kerry.
Peggy?
She gotcha.
Yeah. Well, you're funny, aren't you? Both of you. As my grandmother used to say. Both of you. Points to ponder. And we'll be right back.
Race fans, you haven't seen racing unless you've been to Cedar Lake Speedway. Racing every Saturday night at legendary Cedar Lake Speedway. Featuring some of the finest dirt track drivers in the upper Midwest. Fans witnessing fields of over 150 racers competing on a regular basis. So the legendary Cedar Lake Speedway. Regular race night race tickets just $10 for adults, $5 for children. Check us out online, cedarlakespeedway.com, or call toll-free 866-4CLS-FUN. 15 minutes east of Stillwater.
It's been called the fastest growing sport in the country, and it's right here at Raceway Park, Minnesota's first and finest NASCAR weekly racing series track. All summer long, catch great races featuring NASCAR late models, hobby stocks, bombers, the wild and crazy figure eights, short trackers, and the Miller Lite Enduro Series action. Shakopee's own Raceway Park. It's where to be for hot NASCAR weekly racing series action.
Encyclopedic Knowledge is sponsored by Elko Speedway.
Mark Nesheim's been running late models at Elko for several years now. Mark, you originally ran the Sportsman division for a few years, and you moved up to late models quite a few years ago. What led you to move up to the late model division?
Well, I sold my car, decided I was done racing, and then a good deal came along. I decided I'll buy the car and see what happens. It wasn't a good deal, but we've had a lot of fun putting something else together and just coming out having a good time.
And your brother Randy started racing recently, and I know he's been a big part of your crew in years past. How does that affect your crew with him racing and you driving also at the same time?
Actually, it really doesn't hurt it because, you know, we got enough crew guys where we help each other out. And Randy crashed his pretty bad, you know, about a month ago, and it'll be a while for he's back. So it all kind of works out.
To the untrained eye, the late models and Sportsmen are real similar appearing these days with the rule change recently. Can you describe for the fans some of the major differences between the late model and the Sportsman?
Well, if you look at the speeds, there's not a lot anymore, but the late model's got a fab chassis and an aftermarket body, which now the Sportsmen actually have an aftermarket body too. Horsepower-wise, they've got us beat, but our car is just a little more money, and that's all. A little bit faster, a little bit better handling car.
And how many years older than you is Dick Moeller?
3.
Is Dick Greg's dad, or are they brothers?
Well, people think he's his dad because he looks like it, but he's actually his older brother.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Mark, and have a good season this year.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Dan Plan with the Double O at Elko Speedway.
Encyclopedic Knowledge has been presented by Elko Speedway, featuring the NASCAR Dodge Weekly Series every Saturday night.
NASCAR racing under the lights at Elko Speedway on Saturday nights in 2003. See NASCAR Budweiser late models, Miller Lite Sportsman, Coca-Cola Thunder Cars, Exhaust Pros of Northfield Street Stocks. A full night of NASCAR Dodge Weekly Series action. This is GoElkoSpeedway.com for more information. It's fun for the whole family. Elko Speedway proudly presents the race show with Robbie Hahn. Don't miss any of the excitement at Elko Speedway this summer. You gotta be there.
Towsley.
The race show is brought to you by Towsley Motorsports and Raceway Park.
Now, don't ever say this show is boring. Whew, I'm still catching my breath after some of the footage today. That's it for another episode of The Race Show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next Saturday.